Hey guys, Bones here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a brief review of the game Absolver. Now, for those of you who've been keeping track of my channel here on YouTube and on Twitch, you may be aware that I've been playing this game for about a week straight now. I did get early access, so playing it a bit longer than most, and that should be a pretty good indication as to what I think of the game before kind of making any sort of I don't know, judgment type video on it. I have been playing it a week, so yes, I do enjoy it quite a bit. I've actually referred to it as 2017's best game that I didn't know I actually wanted. Because it wasn't really on my radar, and I wasn't super aware of what it was about. I kind of was, but didn't put too much thought into it. But kind of a basic rundown of what it is. It's hard to define in terms of an exact genre. People like typically, you know, when people ask you what a game is like, they try and compare it to things. So people have said like For Honor, the old Matrix game, a few other things. It doesn't like seem to quite fit into anything perfectly in terms of comparing to other stuff. Like For Honor, maybe a little bit, maybe like a little bit of Tekken. I don't even know what genre to call this other than like third-person action martial arts sim fighting game like thing. I'm not saying there's nothing out, you know, there that's like this at all. But I certainly haven't run into it, and I'm really enjoying personally. What I like is the whole, aside from the actual in-depth combat itself and playing it out, the what's called the combat deck building, where you customize your character to use different moves, and you string all the moves together to make combos that you want to use. So the game is very, very good at sort of allowing you to play and fight the way that you want to. For example, here, this might not be the most exciting duel I've ever engaged in here, but my opponent was pretty good, so I thought I would just kind of show that one off, or this one off. And it's basically two very, very different styles. My opponent is like super defensive and has like, it looks like he's spec'd, I'm not 100% certain what he's doing, but it looks like he's spec'd a lot in a more defensive stuff. He plays a much more defensive play style. He has his special ability things that use shards, they're more based around defense. Whereas I'm just kind of like more relentless offense that baits out opportunities to counterpunch. So you can see, for the most part, my guy's pretty fast, but I tend to mix in some slow moves just to sort of confuse people. And when they finally think they can come at me, I just use my absorb ability and then just kind of keep going at them to counter hit them. So it's kind of like this. It might look a little bit like spam, but I assure you it's actually not. There's a very definitive thought process going on in my head in terms of, okay, what move am I going to use next? And keeping up the pace and attacking very quickly so that the opponent is not so sure what's going on, but I am, you know, at most times at any rate. So yeah, just encountering that is really cool. Just people coming up with their own way of playing, and then you go out into the arena, and then you see that. And actually, this guy specifically that I'm fighting against I thought he was quite annoying to fight against, but I did find it amusing that it was so different from anything else that I had, or mostly different from, you know, things I'd encountered in other people. So yeah, now, in terms of just some other features of the game, people should be very aware that this is extremely PvP centric. There is a PvE portion to the game, but it is absolutely not the focus. It's not bad. It's just kind of like an extra little addition. So to kind of like judge PvE versus PvP on its own, I don't think that's a very useful thing to do. Like that would be like picking apart a game and then rating like a game based on a very specific element of it. Like, I don't know, if you did a review on Dark Souls or something and then based your review purely off on how the spell casting system is, you know, something like that. Someone, I think it was like, I'm quoting someone quoting something or someone. So like, I think it was Peeve quoted excessive profanity, and then I'm in turn quoting this, but it's like, if Dark Souls is a primarily PvE game with a PvE portion attached, or PvP portion attached. This is a PvP game with a slight PvE portion attached. Maybe even like more skewed in terms of one direction. So like even more PvP than it would be PvE in comparison to Dark Souls and PvP versus or PvE versus PvP. Now, instead of just kind of regurgitating confusing acronyms at you guys that all sound the same, a good comparison, actually, at least that worked for me, is Global Agenda. I played way back when Global Agenda was really new, so I don't know if this game is still out or not, if anyone's played it, or what it's like now, if it is still out. but at least when I played Global Agenda, it was a primarily PvP sort of queue up in the PvP queue thing, and there was an open world portion where you could kind of go around fighting mobs and farming like sort of side grades and different types of gear, but it wasn't completely necessary. And again, it felt like the add-on to the primary portion of the game. So, I mean, if that analogy happens to work for, all three of you out there who remember what that game is, great. So, yeah. Also, you note here in the background here, again, just sort of with this duel happening, I equipped a weapon. I am using war gloves right now. So it's really interesting because you can, like, spend your shards, which are like in, I guess, the fighting game equivalent of meter or something, to use various abilities or just kind of bring out weapons. And weapons totally change your deck. So the way you fight completely changes. For example, in my character, when I bring out the war gloves, it typically means either, well, in here I'm just kind of practicing them, but it also means that I designed that portion of my deck to fight people who use tons of hyper armor, which is a very specific type of attack that my kit is not the best by default dealing with. It has a few tools, but if anything's going to beat me, it's typically going to be a person who uses a lot of hyper armor. So, yeah, basically if I encounter that, I switch to my war gloves, and suddenly my deck is completely different, and I'm much better at fighting it. Although this guy uses hyper armor, I kind of screw it up, so I don't actually do very well with the war gloves. So not a very good example. But, yeah. Now, what else should we talk about here? Probably, there is, like, I would say one problem to the game. In fighting other people, for the most part, lag has been fine. You occasionally encounter someone who's got, like, a shitty connection or something, and it's not too fun to fight against them, but that is the vast minority of games. So that is not really an issue. There has been a small issue the last few days with the servers. The last 24 hours or so, I haven't run into too many issues. So hopefully that is cleared up. But I can't speak for everyone. I can't speak for all regions. I just play in North America, and for the last little while I've been fine, so hopefully that has cleared up. The early access was completely fine, but I think it seems like just like the game was maybe more popular than expected, and the servers are kind of flooded. At least I hope that's the case, because that's a good sign. This game really, really does deserve to do well. The combat mechanics and the deck building system are just a thing of beauty, and it really, really works for me. Just to kind of go back to that example of how I phrased it earlier, the best game of 2017 that I didn't know I wanted. It's very interesting because in terms of how I like to play games, with a very sort of in-depth customization thing, because in a lot of games I actually like the customization portion more than I like actually playing the game. For example, not to say I dislike playing Path of Exile, but I actually like coming up with crazy character builds, because that's what that game is really good at, more than actually playing the game, because that's what I like doing. Or Magic the Gathering, I like building decks more than I actually like playing the game, that card game kind of thing. Just sort of what I do. This game has like sort of both, and it's sort of interesting that I didn't recognize that I would enjoy this game so much until I actually tried it. Very similar sort of way, like when I was going to university, I got my degree in archaeology eventually. But for the longest time, I was just kind of like, actually several years, I was just kind of floating around different possible majors because I couldn't quite find anything I liked, and I was finding elements of things I liked. History wasn't too bad, English wasn't too bad, stuff like that. And then eventually I gave archaeology a try, and then I realized, wait a minute, this has got like a whole bunch of different elements I like all combined into one thing with kind of a more sciencey bent to it, a lot of history, but it also has a very, strong physical component of going out into the field and, digging stuff up and all kinds of stuff like that. So in that sense, like there's all kinds of stuff that I like coming together in a single game. And I don't know, A, the game is good, but B, if you think like me at all and sort of your preferences in terms of gaming are similar at all, I don't see you going wrong at all in getting this game. Also, the price is really good. It's only $30. So, yeah. Anyway, like I said, Absolver. Those are my long-winded opinions on it. Hopefully, this wasn't too rambling. You guys found this informative or useful or something. If you have any questions, of course, comments. Comment section. I'll try to answer anything down there. Also, my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Ponce. I've been streaming this game a lot, so if you come hang out there and then click the description or click on that description area there should be a link there. So if I happen to be live and you want to ask me a question, while I'm live, you can do that in the Twitch chat as well. So yeah. Anyway, also you can join my school as well. You get access to all my. Oh, see, perfect timing. See, it says one member unlocked or whatever that said there. Yeah, that was someone joining my my school, and they get access to my combat style or my combat deck. So yeah. Anyway, that's it from here. hopefully this flashback guy doesn't mind that we're using our duels here as kind of like the background. But like I said, he was very good. There's a lot of new players currently in the game, so I didn't have too much footage to work with in terms of the last few days. But yeah, he knew what he was doing, and it was just such a unique play style to play against, like this turtle thing, which again was frustrating. So after this match, I did win, but because I'm going to cut this off in a second here, but I actually left because, not because I thought he was bad or anything. I just got tired playing against him because he was so goddamn defensive. But anyway, that's it from me, guys. Thanks for watching, and goodbye. Having to catch this video. I said goodbye. I gotta stop. No, I'm leaving. Goodbye.